Hi everyone, Ashley here. I hope you're all having a good week and hope you're all ready for spring break next week. I'm here tonight for my Bitter Southerner presentation. The article that I chose was titled Scotty and Pamela Sue by Caitlin Causey. There was no date listed on the article. And this article appealed to me because I really enjoy reading a lot of true crime. I enjoy watching a lot of TV shows about murders and things like that. I'm always kind of intrigued by them. So this one took place in the South, a small town called Hogansville, Georgia. And so I thought that some of the places that we've been reading about have been some small towns. And so I thought that this one would kind of go along with that. Ms. Causey, in her article, discusses the murder of Pamela Sue Yurta, who was 7 years old when she was murdered on December 18th, 1997 in Hogansville, Georgia. And this small town was the author's hometown. The murderer, 14-year-old Scotty McTaggart, someone known to Pamela Sue, someone who lived in the same government housing project she did. And according to the article, she was raped, gutted, and had her throat slashed, all simply because Scotty was afraid that she was going to tell about some things that he had done that he didn't want anyone to know about. The murder took place just a few hundred yards from the author's home in a wooded area near the government housing development, or the projects, as a lot of people call them in the South, where Pamela Sue and Scotty lived. The author, throughout the article, recounts journal entries that she wrote at the time as a 12-year-old girl, the late-night phone call her mother received with the news, and then her initial thoughts on what Scotty's punishment should be, which at that time she felt like he deserved the death penalty. According to the author, Scotty had been a neighborhood nuisance throughout their childhood for as long as she could remember. He was always getting in trouble. Parents wouldn't give their children permission to play with him, things like that. She continues her article by telling then what eventually happened to Scotty. At the time the article, shortly after the article was written, but he was tried in 1998 as an adult. He was found guilty of murder, and he was sentenced to life in prison as a 15-year-old child. And that's something unheard of. At that time, it probably happened pretty frequently across the nation, not just in the South. Today, we might see, we've seen some 15, 16, 17-year-olds tried as adults, but a lot of them may not be sentenced to life in prison. He's currently serving his sentence at a medium security facility, Coffee Correctional Facility in Nichols, Georgia. Ms. Causey ends her article by saying that she rescinds her call for capital punishment for Scotty McTaggart. And now she has no idea what kind of punishment he deserved. And she asks the question of the reader, do you? Growing up in a small southern town, I could definitely see many similarities between Hogansville, Georgia, and some of the small towns that our works have been set in. The first small town that comes to mind would be the one that Jessa and her brother Milo grew up in Mostly Dead Things, which we just finished. When something happens in a small town, word gets around very quickly. People start to talk, people start to hear things, and then the rumor mill begins. People may not know the truth, but they heard one person say something, so they just kind of pass that along, and the story just goes from there. Usually, though, within a few days, a lot of things are forgotten. Life goes back to normal. You have the lady friends, the women in the church who are taking casseroles to each other. You have friends who are playing again. You have really lots of people that don't have many cares in the world in a small town. So my questions to pose to you are this. Why do you think Southerners and small southern towns are like this? And is it just something that is in a southern town? Are there other cities? Are there other smaller towns around the country not associated with the South that you know of that would be like this? Are these qualities of all small towns? Again, or is there something different about small southern towns that just makes them like this? I hope that you have had a good week. I hope that you enjoy your spring break next week, and that if you are in an area that you are quarantined, or you're being self-quarantined, or you're kind of trying to not be out amongst the public much, that I hope that you have plenty of things to do, and we will get through this. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.